was our first shift where a dog came in and could not move his back legs. He had been stuck in a carrier for, I believe it was more than 20 hours. And when he finally came out of the crate, could not move his back legs.
Unfortunately, he was paralyzed and we think potentially had tetanus as well. Just trying to get him calm enough and stable enough to travel, and then take him to an ER because it's a tent. We do our best, but we certainly don't have the things that he needed in that situation. We ended up with Annie looking after him while I'm trying to find out where we're going to take him, and then driving to the nearest ER, which was about an hour and a half away. So I think at that point, Annie and I were about 30 hours in being awake. So we're pretty tired, but you know, when you see an emergency like that and there's nobody to help, you know, so that we were happy we were able to give him some peace and some health care.
It just felt so good to help the people bringing him in and helping him, and that I was actually helping them, that I was actually talking to a Ukrainian and trying to speak with them, trying to help them, trying to understand what they needed.
I'm Dr. Krieger. I'm one of the staff veterinarians here at the Humane Society of Broward County.
I'm Anny Prats. I am a vet tech here at the Humane Society of Broward County.
My supervisor, Dr. Singh, just said, "Do you want to go to Ukraine?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And she said, "I thought you'd say that."
I wasn't really assembled on one of the teams to go, but the vet tech that was supposed to go had a problem and couldn't make it, so she asked me like the same week that we were leaving.
I think I had like a week and a half, 2 weeks notice, and Annie had like a few days like, to get ready, pretty much.
Stopping everything and going to Poland. Our boss, Mary Stephan, she was contacted by Greater Good Charities, and she just kind of put together teams that were going to go over to Poland for 5 days.
I'm Mary Stephan. I'm the Senior Vice President of Operations at the Humane Society of Broward County. The way that this opportunity came about was we have worked with several national organizations when it comes to disaster and cruelty cases for a very long period of time. We seem to be one of the go-to organizations in the country, so Greater Good Charities, which is a national group that helps people, pets, and planet, they reached out once they knew that they were going to Ukraine to help at border crossings. They wanted medical staff, they wanted people like veterinarians, vet techs that could really assist and support people with their pets as they were coming across the border. The group internationally that they are connected with is called IFAW, International Fund for Animal Welfare. So International Fund for Animal Welfare, IFAW, was actually the group that was in charge of the space where we were over in Ukraine.
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Krieger. I'm here in Poland on the border with Ukraine. We're here in the IFAW tent, supported by Greater Good, and we are providing checkups, triage for patients and pets that are crossing the border with their owners, as well as food, jackets, blankets, things like that.
We met up with another vet that we didn't know. We'd never met her before, and her name is Marky. She works in Colorado. Now we all drove down to the border, and we're all taking over for another team that was leaving basically at the border. So really small crossover, and then just the three of us.
Well, we slept over in Shetsaw, I believe that's how you say that, the city an hour away from the border, and the next day pretty much just headed straight to the camp. For me, you get to Przemyśl, the town where we were going to stay at the hotel just for the 5 days, and that's like a 20-minute drive from the border. Just going that way into the camp and into the border was very eerie. I feel like you see the long lines of trucks just trying to go back in with supplies and things like that. It was surreal. I couldn't believe I was actually there.
I would agree. It was very surreal feeling when you first get there. It's just a place that used to be a field and right next to the border, and now it's full of tents and, you know, made up walkways for you to get different places. I think when we first got there, we had been under the impression we would work together on shifts. But when we got there just weren't enough people. I was on swing shift, which is 4 to midnight, so a lot of foot traffic, a lot of people. You've been waiting days to get across the border, and they're finally getting through at the end of the day with their pets and things like that, so pretty heavy traffic. And Annie was on the graveyard shift from midnight to 8, so she saw just different people, quirky people in transition. They're all refugees from Ukraine. There was mostly women and children that we would see. We had a little kid come to the tent, and he had his pet hamster, that he carried with him. And you're trying to leave and you have no way to transport anything, and he had his little hamster out, and it was in a jar, like a peanut butter jar. And we were able to put him into a normal hamster cage, and he went running around, running on the wheel, up and down, and poking his little head out at us, and the little kid was so happy. And I think there were lots of little moments like that where you were just thinking, it's gonna get better. I think a lot of the folks coming through, they put so much of their stress into what's happening with the pet, and it's just like the last straw. But they love their pets so much. And this lady came in, and she's in a panic because she said there's a wound on his face, can you please look at it? So we're looking at the cat and found where she was pointing to, and it ended up being just a discoloration. But it was all fine now, and being able to tell her it was fine, and she just burst into tears, and then of course we all burst into tears, and I'll never forget that lady's face. It's all sort of bittersweet, with everything that they've gone through, just to be so passionate about their pets. They're just incredibly giving people. There was one kid who was maybe 13 or so, seemed to be there by himself, and came in with his little basket, and inside of the basket, which is wrapped in saran wrap, inside of it was a cat, and that's all he could get on his way out. And the cat had been in there for days, and so dedicated and so much thought put into that, and so getting that cat out and putting it into a bigger basket, letting it have a chance to relax and get some food and water. So that one stuck with me.
We just had a lot of moments where we held an animal for somebody for a few minutes or hours. They had just had to flee probably quickly, and we kind of just went out because sometimes they don't really see what the tents say. They're really rushing. They're really trying to get to either the bus stops or a ride. And one girl in particular, she was coming in and she stopped for water across from our tent. There was a tent with coffee, water, anything they could need to freshen up, and she stopped for water. She just looked so tired, and she had a lot of bags on her and her dog was just shaking. It was freezing cold. She only had a leash to transport him with, and I came up to her because she wasn't even looking our way, and I was like, do you need help? I mean, these carriers that we would give them or anything to bring with them would be better for her since she was carrying so much already, and he was really cold. So we were able to provide a blanket, some food, some water, some bowls for water for wherever she was going, and she was able to come in our tent as well and just feel warm. I remember her, she sighed and she was like, oh my God, she could only blow kisses. She couldn't say anything. And I just remember that really, it did touch me because I was like, these people are just running, and that's just a sad truth.
What I mostly saw was just people who love their animals just like we do, but weren't able to provide anything normal. The truth is that when you're fleeing, you don't have anything, so the fact that they brought the animal is just amazing.
All of those moments just really stuck with me because it was eye-opening every time, and having to leave was a very bittersweet feeling.
It really is just amazing to be able to do something helpful and to fill a need. We're looking at the schedule before we left and seeing gaps in it and just wishing we could stay a little longer. It was hard to leave.
I think that this opportunity for us and the fact that they reached out to us shows how respected and regarded we are in the animal welfare community, that they would come to us to ask us to represent them. Our staff they're so organized, they're so respected. To walk into an environment where you don't really know what's going to be happening, what exactly you're going to be doing, and to be able to trust that you have the skills and the ability to manage that space, I think is amazing. And the fact that people trust us to do it is really pretty cool.
Добирались сутки, эвакуационный поезд, и вот только-только зашли, и стоят волонтеры, очень замечательные, доброжелательные люди, и нам сказали, что вот надо для собак. Я сейчас расплачусь. Я не ожидала, спасибо вам большое, я так переживала, потому что без них бы я никуда не поехала. Они для меня как